Elevation Nation. It is always so fun when we get to bring on a new guest, a new elevator whose purpose, whose mission is so inspired in a similar way to Parker and myself. When Parker and I graduated from college, went into the real world, we struggled with that change immensely. Becoming, I'm doing air quotes, adults was extremely difficult for us. And so when I got connected to our next guest, I was so excited because she is helping people figure out and navigate change themselves with her new mentoring company, Navigating Change. Lia Maiuri, welcome to Elevation Nation. We are so excited to have you on the pod.
Thank you, Sam. Thanks, Parker. I'm thrilled to be here. I really appreciate it.
We are thrilled to have you. And, we did a little research beforehand, as we do when we bring on every person on the Elevation Nation, and just excited for the conversation. But, Leah, I don't know if you've listened to an Elevation Nation podcast or not, but we start off every single podcast. We've done 450 of these the exact same way. We want to know a little bit more about yourself. So you got to give us an elevator pitch. Tell us a little bit more about who you are.
All right. Well, I am a Bay Area native. I went to college at Loyola Marymount University, and my experience ranges from tech all the way to entertainment, with my most recent experience being Paramount Pictures as a director of communications and media relations. Prior to that, I was the head of PR globally for Days of Our Lives. And then before that, I was a senior publicist at NBC Universal, working on shows from pilot throughout the seasons for like This Is Us or The Voice, Chicago Fire, Chicago Med, Housewives of Orange County on the Bravo side, which I love. But I really was honored to speak with you guys because I know you have a very similar mission. And throughout my career, I have been mentoring young women, young adults, especially when they're trying to figure things out. And I found that passion through the fact that I myself struggled so much with, like, where is this bridge when it comes to you graduate? We're told we have all these stepping stones, you know what's in front of you, and then it's like, get a job. Well, how do we get a job? Where do I begin? No one prepared me for the amount of competition that's going to be happening. Where is it that we can kind of understand the mental struggles that also go into this? And then you've got social media, for example, with, luckily for me, I think Instagram was just becoming a thing when I was like at the end of college, not to age myself, but I just did. But I think especially nowadays, like Gen Z specifically is going to have to go through life knowing that they have this platform that is a, highlight reel, and it's a big comparison issue. And when I graduated, I have to say, I couldn't land a job for a year, and I was majorly depressed. Mentally, I just felt like why is it that I go through this great college? My parents are expecting me to get a job. And just to note, like, my parents did not put pressure on me. Like, they're like, you're going to be just fine. But I had very, very much amount of pressure on myself. And I couldn't figure out, where to go. I kept getting rejected from jobs. And then I finally was able to land a position at Twitter. And I was able to get that through a referral and having a coffee meeting with someone. And that was truly kind of the big step that got me into a big company. And for pretty much all of my career, I've either known people that connect me with people or I've had referrals. And that's been the big connector for the next job. But the point in me really wanting to start navigating change has to do with my specific perspective. I wish I had someone that was kind of telling me and being very transparent. You're going to have ups and downs. Your mental health is going to go, up and down. You're going to start to see that your career path isn't linear. You're not going to have that perfect job right out of school. you're going to get fired at some point. You're going to get laid off at some point. You're going to have a boss that you might not mesh with.
Totally.
Competitive nature with your coworkers. Mistakes are going to be made. Um, and you're, going to have to take that and learn and not completely break down. And um, so I, really wanted to forge a way to sort of prepare undergrads or even people pivoting jobs, um, giving them the
Love it.
self-esteem that they yeah, thank you. Giving them the self-esteem and the preparation, whether it be resume crafting for a specific job, um, interviewing prepping, making them feel like they're confident going into, an interview and kinda keeping up with the times as well with, like, AI. And so, yeah, it's been really wonderful, and I've been speaking all over, um, California and hoping to
Good for
expand, but
you.
thank you, and I've been, really getting great feedback that not only did they appreciate, the transparency, but the fact that mental health is never discussed, and
Mm.
a lot of these students are so stressed, and if they're already in the workforce, they're like, "Where do I go? How do I begin?" And it's kind of a catch-22 because most people that interview are, like, just out of college, and then the employer's like, "Oh, I really like your resume, but, like, we're looking for someone with a little bit more experience." And it's like, "Well, we just graduated." So it's so ironic. I'm like, that
It's
happened to me too."
It's a wild world right now, and, it's so funny because Sam and I felt very similar to you when you were looking to navigate college to real world, and how much
Yeah.
pressure and anxiety, comes from the unknowingness, not just starting a new job, but also starting essentially your life. And
Yep.
Sam and I at Elevation Nation, we use a metaphor that pretty much up until the day you graduate college, you're on this GPS. And the GPS is rerouted as you go through life. And it's rerouted
Mhm.
by teachers and mentors and parents and friends. And when you go off course, they bring you back. You go off course, they bring you back, or they help you forge a new path. And then you
Yeah.
graduate. And we like to say when kids graduate college or start in the real world, even if they didn't go to college, they start a job, the GPS kind of ends. And then it's essentially a compass that is guiding you. And you have to
Yeah.
hold that compass and take a step forward and figure out if north, south, west, east is the right way for you. And
Mhm.
so obviously, Leah, I mean, your credentials and your experience speaks for itself. I mean, it seems like you made your way up in a corporate environment, but then you're like, wait, I want to start this company on the side because I felt this way and I want to help others feel more proud as they go through the college or, sorry, the job search or whatever it might be. What
Yeah.
was the moment where you decided that you really wanted to take a step away from your normal day to day job and start navigating change?
I think I actually had this idea in mind for quite some time. It probably sort of sparked when I was at NBC Universal and um, we had a huge internship program, which is so excellent. And I was overseeing 6 interns. We would have every 4 months, new ones would come in, and um, they would come to me, and I noticed that they would come to me if they made a mistake, they'd be freaking out, or they were confused on a project and they didn't have their voice to talk to me about it. And so I was really sort of taken aback by that, knowing that for every group that came through, it was a very similar pattern. And I also just find so much joy in being able to give back and sort of being that, big sis, so to speak. And I had lovely mentors that, stuck their neck out for me, and, I wanted to do the same. And so
Yeah.
by creating a company that, helps, really bring all these people connected to other people that could potentially help them in the direction they want to go. I mean, it's like, why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and I think now that I've kind of gotten further along in my career, I can afford to have a little bit of time, um, and, just which is what I'm currently doing right now, just giving myself time building this company, uh, and it's been really so fun.
It's so beautiful when, life is going to have ups and downs and ebbs and flows, but when we take advantage of changes, pun intended, in our lives to really find more fulfillment, right? And
Mhm.
I think so often in American society, we are trained to chase the future, whether that is
Yep.
more money or more prestige or a better company, a higher title, a better school, another degree, right? We're always chasing that next
Yeah.
thing. And I think there's a beautiful revolution that is happening slowly but surely. I think it's already happened in Europe and parts of Asia and South America, but hopefully here in the US soon. Are people going, you know what? I want to live and be happy right now.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the reasons Parker and I have continued time and time and again every week for 5 years straight doing Elevation Nation and building it to what it is. Newsflash, everyone out there, Parker and I don't make a lot of money doing this, but we do it because it makes our hearts and our souls feel good. And I think when we start recognizing that fulfillment piece as a currency for us, I think we get to have more beautiful lives. And so I'm really proud and excited that you are helping, people navigate change as much as they can, because certainly Parker and I needed this. And I think young people are needing it more and more, which leads me into my next question for you, Leah. You talked in your intro a little bit about AI a bit and
Yes.
how people are trying to navigate that. Right hand up here, I'm
Yeah.
30. I don't know what the hell is going on in the world right now. And so, as you're working with people kind of navigating the uncertainty of the future, what kind of things are you helping them to stand out, to feel more comfortable in, unfortunately, this ever changing, evolving layoff job market right now? What are things that you're kind of mentoring and teaching people around that?
Well, I highly recommend people to really keep their writing skills top notch, even though we have AI now and you can throw in an essay at ChatGPT or say, hey, please write me an essay. It's very noticeable when you're using chat. Um, People can tell. And I think just having, your creative writing still present sets you apart from most people that are now just relying on ChatGPT or AI. I specifically help when it comes to understanding sort of the technology that goes behind sourcing candidates. For me, I am looking at my, mentee's resume and they're sending me a job that they would like. I'm looking at the job description. I'm looking at their qualifications. I'm helping bridge what is parallel that they can provide for this job. But then also the keywords, like making sure, because there are a lot of AI programs that will just scan someone's resume, look for keywords, and if you don't have them, they just say no. Um, so I think that's a major one. And then also once you're in an interview, it's you're qualified at that point. They see your resume, they're interested in you. But when you're, at an interview, it's, "Hey, can we get along with this person? Are we able to work with them full time?" Because this is, they're interviewing you to see if, like, the communication is good and, if you'd be a solid person to work with. And so on the other side of the coin for me, I do also help just a lot of these, young adults gain the confidence and know that, they're interviewing this person as much as they're, interviewing them. So I think that's super vital.
It's so important, and, Sam and I have worked at the same company since we've graduated college, so we, technically have only had one formal interview process.
Got it.
However, I look at it this way, it's like every human interaction you have is essentially an interview, especially when you're meeting a new person. It's
Yes.
how do you make someone feel when they're interacting with you? What are they taking from you? What do they get from your vibe? What, like, any type of time you're meeting someone new, it is always, in my eyes, it's an interview. You wanna show, who you are as a person and the brand that you convey. And to your point about,
1000%.
yeah, and to your point about I mean, Sam and I, we're huge on this, is that, yeah, intelligence, right? All these
Yeah.
things that we went to school for.
Yeah.
everyone has at the click of a button in their hand with the phone, right? They can go to any chatbot, they can go to any AI and find out whatever knowledge that you need to know to make a decision. But what we do with that information becomes the most important. And Sam and
Right.
I believe that people skills, specifically communication, is
Yes.
going to be the differentiator for someone to crush that interview and get a job, right?
Yep.
It might not be I got a 4.0 in mechanical engineering. It might, maybe, but maybe if you're putting a 4.0 student and a 3.8 student together and the 3.8 is able to communicate more effectively, then a
Exactly.
company, I think, would go much more likely to get the person with better communication skills because essentially the knowledge that those people gain in college around engineering, most of it can be probably done by an AI.
Yep. Exactly. And actually, communication specifically, I think, has some safety around it. Like you just said, I mean, the communication aspect is almost more important. Obviously, you need your skills and that you can complete the task and the job that you're working at. But, how you are professionally, how you interact with your coworkers, your communication style. Do you gatekeep things or are you able to, go through the proper channels, and do people enjoy working with you? And um, people are going to want to work with someone that, like you said, have communication skills. Maybe they didn't have that 3.9 or 4.0 GPA, but, and also, I don't even know a company that's ever asked me that. I think once you graduate, then you're good. I've never had someone say, "Well, what was your GPA in college?" I mean, it's like I think college kids get really bent out of shape about that, but as long as you
Yeah.
have this, diploma, great. So I just think that's so fascinating. Everyone gets bent out of shape.
Well, I think to your point, the reason why is because we are all, especially in the States, trained, like I spoke about earlier, to
Yeah,
try to be better on quantifiable reasons, right? Whether that's more degrees, double major, or a better GPA. We're in this really competitive world where people think that because it's measurable is how you become more successful.
right.
And it's
Well,
so.
I,
Oh, go ahead, P.
I was going to say, listen, if you're telling me or any other college student that they need something to measure against, or else they won't try. If you say I
Well,
just
right.
show up and you have to have some aspect. But I see what your point, Leah. And sorry to cut you off. Like once you get past the first job, I think a
Right.
GPA makes sense for if you're going to like more school, a school one to see how you were doing in school before. Yeah.
Yeah, like, if you're in the medical field and, you obviously want to be able to retain information, they want to, make sure you know your stuff. And same with, like you said, with engineering. I mean, I think that makes much more sense. But then also that career path is a lot more simpler. Okay, I have to go pre-med, I have to get, PhD, or I don't even know if it's your med. I'm not skilled on the whole process for med folks, but I also have so much admiration for them. But just it's a little bit more, you know, created and written out for you. Um, and I think, to Sam, your point, I do think we're always constantly focused on how we can one up our situation, how we can have more money, how we can get that promotion, how we can switch and get a job that like everyone's impressed by, like what company you're at, or just we're always aiming for something. But I think it becomes a problem when you're realizing that you're missing it all when you're so focused on the future. And one thing I really wanted to be able to talk to you guys about today is every single career path, every job I've had, I've even if it's a tough exit from the company or I didn't want to leave or it felt heartbreaking in the moment, I have always landed in a better place than I even anticipated for the following job. So when I think of it that way, it really brings me to this point of, everything is working out as it should.
Mhm.
And you will eventually leave. You'll be in another company and you're going to look back and be like, oh, thank God that layoff happened. Or I'm so glad. Like I had a very similar situation with Twitter. Um, I had a very it was a very difficult, managerial issue, and I was in a space where I was anxious every single day, and I wanted to stay at Twitter for so badly, but I also didn't love the event marketing space I was in. I knew I wanted more interfacing focus with people, and I wanted to get into entertainment. And, I'll never forget, they were like, you're going to be put on a 30-day performance plan. And I was like, I think I was in my I was 23, 24. I was devastated. I was like, oh my God, this is the worst thing in the entire world. And, we ended up having a meeting with HR and they ended up letting me go. And I was depressed for days. I was like, how am I going to recover from this? This is the end of my work, like my world. Like this is it for me. And then I fast forward like a year later and I had made that jump to LA and I had landed at DreamWorks Animation as my first big studio. Um, and I was in a realm of an industry that I was so much more passionate about. And I would never have made that jump had I stayed at Twitter. And I don't think I would have made the jump if I didn't get let go because I think Twitter was such a big name. I was there before
Yeah.
IPO. Then when it got, then it was hot, then it was public and the atmosphere was so great. But did I want to, continue on that path or in tech? Not really. And so I think it just benefited me for this exit. And I just think it's really important for people to know, like, it may not make sense to you now, but it will, and it will surpass your expectations.
I love that advice. I think young people especially struggle in trusting the universe a little bit.
Mhm.
Myself included, I'm working on it. It's a new skill that we're obsessed with, but it's
Oh,
hard.
same. You have to
It's hard
continue practicing
sometimes.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think the more you can share your story with people, yeah, obviously, it certainly has worked out for you. It's continuing to work out for you. And the more you can help people when they're going through a hard time realize I might not see it yet, but
Yeah.
new opportunities will come in the future because of this moment. The more you
Right.
can continue to have a positive mindset and push through. And so I think it's a beautiful way to, I'm so cheesy tonight, navigate change. It's a great way to do that because I think we all inevitably are going to go through big changes in our lives, whether that's
Yes.
career wise, whether that's with family, friends, relationships, life, death, health, whatever it may be. Change is what makes human life beautiful and also difficult at
Yeah.
times. And so learning how to elegantly navigate that in a way that you can stay positive for as much of it as possible is a skill that requires
Yeah.
practice and certainly requires mentorship. And so I'm so grateful that obviously you were on a similar mission to us in trying
Yeah.
to help people navigate their troubles, navigate their struggles, and really use their mindset to go forward. So I think
Can I just also
changes. Yeah, go
can I
ahead.
also just say that I think what you guys have built is so invaluable and incredible, and you have really, really, I believe, especially based off your following and the commitment you put in for the last 5 years, I think what you're doing is creating massive change. And I think, when you had mentioned, Sam, about, we might not be, you know, might be not making all the money in the world, but you're passionate about what you're doing. I mean, I have been in a position where I was making a lot of good money, but I was miserable at the job. And I think that just goes to show, like, I would rather be paid, just getting by financially to have a job I actually love going to every day versus just checking that, oh, I'm doing really well. Um, so that's something, yeah, that I also wanted to touch on.
Well, we appreciate you. And I think for anyone listening, we can all make an impact in the world. And we can all find, I believe, the things that we're passionate about around how we make that impact. But oftentimes, when people try to go do that, they see that they want a different reward for what
Mm,
they truly want out of it, right? You often see people stop doing something because it's not making them money. right?
Yeah.
Sam and I started a business right after college. We were like, we're not making enough money. We hate this, even though we were passionate about helping people. With Elevation Nation and what we're doing, it's no, we're passionate about meeting amazing people who are making a difference in the world and sharing their story and getting on stages and elevating the mindset of people so that they can be inspired to go make a difference in the world. And Leah, I mean, you're a perfect example of that. You're going and working with people who are trying to get through low moments in their life, whether
Yeah.
they got fired from a job or they can't find a job or they need to maybe personally, I think, find their sense of self, who they are
Yeah.
and what they bring to the table, because we all bring something to the table. And so we are so grateful that you want to share that story with us.
Thank
And
you.
it's just very cool to hear the impact and your passion through that.
Well, thank
At
you for those
Elevation
kind
Nation,
words.
of
Thank you.
course. At Elevation Nation, we started with the elevator pitch, right? That's what we've done on every single podcast with every single guest. We
Yes.
end every podcast the exact same way as well. And that is where our new elevator shares what we call a mental motto. It's a phrase, a quote, a slogan that you lead your life by. And so, Leah, we're
Oh,
very curious. Do you have a mental motto that you want to share with Elevation Nation?
I there's a lot of them. When I was thinking about this, I was like, okay, where do I want to go with this? But I think one of the ones that I really, really probably would want to say is not every thought is truth, but your worth is. Um, and the reason that I say that is because I think there's been such a uh, like I said, tying your worth to what you're doing, your identity is, connected to your accolades. But I also have to say that coming from someone who has, dealt with depression and anxiety, it really, really took practice and sort of mindfulness to understand a lot of your thoughts are not truth. They're not real. So when it's like they're cars passing in the night and like they're not always like you could think that that car is red but it's black. But you can convince yourself of these things that start to deplete yourself, your self-esteem, your self-love, your self-worth. And I think it's about understanding like no, that is a thought, but that's just a thought, and really believing that, you have it in you to kind of believe the goodness about yourself. And I think that's just so vital. And if you don't, I think it's just such a disservice to live your life thinking the worst or thinking that you aren't as incredible as you are, because every single person brings something amazing to this world. And it's one life, and why would you want to go through it with this idea that you don't deserve to be here or you
Yeah.
aren't as great as you think? I mean, it's just, and I say that knowing that I've been on that side of it, so I understand. And that's a big portion of like a big part of why I'm doing this in the first place.
Well, the feeling is more than mutual because Parker and I certainly felt that, and that was the inspiration as well behind Elevation Nation. And so, Leo, we are just so honored, one, happy that you are on a similar mission because I think more people need to try to make the world a better place. And I think young people specifically growing up right now are struggling a lot with what goes on between their ears. And the
Yes.
more they can hear stories, the more empowered they will feel. And so we are so honored that you came on Elevation Nation to share your story. And then we got to welcome you to our incredible community. We're going to link to all of your content and your website. So if folks want to learn more, or hear from you, or work with you, you can reach out to Leah. But on behalf of Parker, myself, and all of Elevation Nation, thank you for hanging out with us and welcome to the nation. We're glad to
Oh
have
my
you.
gosh. Thank you. It's such an honor to be here. And, thank you for all the work you guys are doing. And I look forward, I love that we have this relationship, and I look forward to, hopefully collaborating again together soon, because I enjoy
Absolutely.
you guys. You guys are the best.
Thank
Totally.
you. All right, Elevation Nation. Until next week. Peace.